I come at this from a salmon recovery perspective, and obviously salmon are in deep decline. And in doing my research, I found that beavers and salmon had a symbiotic relationship in the past, meaning that, well, effectively beavers helped with salmon habitat. But as we developed a lot of land and changed it, we impacted the beaver population so that they weren't functioning in that same way. So the idea here is to get back to some of that natural function. And we are spending, I think, now looking at $8 billion with a B on culvert remediation. But these little critters in the right space do the same work for free. So this is a very fiscally responsible bill. And I just want to say, I know there are some people opposed to this bill. This is not envisioned as a no-kill bill. I'm not bringing forward a bill to make it illegal, period, to kill beavers. I understand that they have some impacts on properties. This is a let's see if we can work on relocation first bill before we go to kill. And it's also, let's find out exactly where we want to reestablish these beavers and then protect those areas where they're reestablished from those beavers getting killed in various ways. So I think that's a win-win, and it's a more forward-looking way to approach this. I hope to hear your testimony and have your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and committee members. Most of you know me, but I'm Darrell Williams representing the Tulalip tribes. The Tulalip tribes, of course, strongly support this bill and all its facets, and our wildlife staff worked with the folks that drafted the language, so we're firmly behind it. We reinforce the recognition of beavers as a keystone species capable of creating climate resilience, hydraulic security, natural production from wildfires as evidenced in the peer-reviewed scientific literature. Because of the decade we've been working on this, Tulalip has become a national leader in beaver management. The state of Washington is also becoming a national leader in terms of beaver management. So, we're well ahead of most of the country in what we're doing here. And it's really long overdue. I mean, after the settlers came to the United States from Europe, the beaver population declined quickly. People were harvesting beavers at really an alarming rate. But over the last few decades, the beaver populations have been rebounding. And they are very important for maintaining fish habitat and wildlife habitat as well. And besides providing the habitat for fish, as Vice Chair Solomon said earlier, their beaver ponds help store water during the rainy season to help delay when the low flows come in the dry season. And as our climate continues to change, that's a very important issue for us to deal with. We have to have more water storage in our watersheds. And beavers do that for us at no cost. As we've educated landowners and the general public, we've seen a shift in the perceptions surrounding beavers from that of a nuisance animal to an ecosystem engineer that provides safe harbor and fresh water for other mammals, amphibians, birds, fish, as well as humans. More landowners are preferring to use non-lethal methods in managing beavers, so we require the resources to address these concerns both in a timely and appropriate manner. Washington beaver managers consistently lack the funding necessary to inform landowners and address their concerns effectively. Establishing grant criteria and cost share requirements will help landowners get the support that they need when dealing with beaver-related damage to private property and support the coexistence of proper relocation of those beavers, contributing to WDFW's goals and precluding the lethal management of beavers where possible. The Washington State Beaver Management Plan will help us to achieve these goals of recognizing the benefits of properly and consistently maintaining beavers on the landscape where they are protected from lethal management and recreational harvest, and providing financial assistance to those collaborative groups that are equipped to carry out this important and timely work. To reiterate, the Tulalip Tribe supports this bill in its entirety, and really thank you for your time to hear our concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone, members of the committee. My name is Margan Carlson. I'm the Conservation Director for the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify in favor of Senate Bill 5846. We really appreciate the bill's recognition of the significance of beavers to Washington's biodiversity, salmon recovery, and climate resilience, and we heard Senator Solomon speak to that early on. We've already taken initial steps to create a statewide strategy, and yet it's helpful for the bill's language to codify that and then to add important grant resources to the communities who are trying to actually live with or reestablish beaver. That support and the resources are vital because some of the greatest limiters to establishing or reestablishing healthy beaver populations are the degradation of the habitat that they depend on, as well as helping the people who may be in the surrounding area to actually manage and live with beaver as neighbors. There are many people and organizations in Washington already making progress to help those communities live with or reestablish beaver. And we've actually heard from many of them today in the earlier panel. We're hopeful that with the added framework and the resources from the bill, we can come together to expand those tools and services to help more of the communities do the same. We also appreciate that the bill speaks to the need to develop recommendations on I believe it's the 8 or 9 elements that are to be included in the strategy. And I think you've already heard from some panelists about the complexities of striking a balance between promoting, maintaining, reestablishing beaver on the landscape, and also finding ways to help the communities who need to live with those beavers as neighbors manage that and live with those beaver. The last thing I'd add is that the bill also recognizes the importance of monitoring outcomes, both for relocating beavers, as well as to get a broader understanding of beaver populations across the state. The methods for that kind of population monitoring at scale are challenging, and so the costs can really vary widely depending on priorities and the intent. And so, as always, we're available to continue working with Senator Solomon and others to make sure that we're capturing the desired assumptions and goals and managing the costs to really match up with that intent. Thanks again for the opportunity to testify and advance this important opportunity for Washington's ecosystems. And of course, I remain available for questions.
Thank you. I see you signed in pro. I assume the fiscal note was in the governor's budget?
I am not sure about it being in the governor's budget, but the fiscal note, I believe, has been reviewed and approved by the Office of Financial Management, if I'm not mistaken.
Welcome, Caleb.
Good afternoon, Chair Van de Weg, Ranking Member Mazzal, and members of the committee. My name is Caleb Gorder, and I am here on behalf of the Washington Farm Bureau in opposition to Senate Bill 5846. Our concerns largely echo those of Senator Short's and Senator Wagner's that were shared earlier, in that this broad language in the bill, as there is no prescriptive recourse on how property owners can mitigate their damages from beavers. As referenced in Section 2 on page 2, line 25, the word mitigating signals the acknowledgement that a considerable amount of damage can happen from beavers. Farm Bureau has several members who have lost valuable, productive agriculture ground due to rising water tables and flooding from beaver dams not on their property just in the last 15 years. This includes damage to special purpose districts such as diking and drainage districts. As beavers create dams, water can back up onto property, into homes, and over roadways. Diking districts use sophisticated series of floodgates across private and public land to help ensure flooding recedes in a timely and purposeful manner. We have concerns the establishment of beavers in districts such as these won't modify management strategies, but instead the broad language could prioritize beaver ecosystems over district management. Allowing beavers to manage lands and resources will prevent the elected boards responsible for these districts to properly steward taxpayer dollars. Please do not obligate farmers to pay taxes on agricultural land they can no longer use for food production, and vote no on this legislation. Thank you for your time.
My name is Jacob Heckert. I am a co-founder of South Sound Beavers, local biologist, commercial fisherman, and lifelong Washingtonian. What I want to highlight in that is that most of my income comes from commercial salmon harvest. So while we as a state have very dramatic fisheries management plans, currently our wildlife regulations have not been updated insofar as beavers, at least in my lifetime. Senator Solomon has pointed out that we've spent $8 billion so far on the salmon recovery. Mark also mentioned that we've reached a tipping point, at least just temperature-wise, where all of that money means next to nothing unless we find new, innovative, sustainable, and most importantly, cost-effective fisheries management plans. Thank you.